In this presentation, we'll give an overview of PowerPoint and other presentation tools. Get ready for business, online business. In prior presentations, we've been taking a look at business models for an online business. And part of the business model centers around making videos. We have the video content that we can then use for multiple different resources. I won't go into the overview. You can take a look at the prior presentations for it. But if we're thinking about YouTube videos, if we're starting to make videos, especially instructional videos, then the question is, well, what's going to be the layout? What tools do I need to make instructional videos? That will, of course, vary depending on what type of industry you're in. If you do something physically, like if you do plumbing or construction work or something like that, then of course you will need the camera. You'll probably need better editing tools and whatnot so you can show people whatever it is that what you're doing and how to do things. If you're doing things online, if you're doing consulting or anything like that, computer work or other like tax work, bookkeeping and that kind of stuff, then all you really need is the screencast. Now just note, you'll have a lot of people that will argue that, whether or not you need to have a camera, do you need to see the person talking to you or not? In my experience, some people really like to have someone talking to them, so you could put the camera in there and it would work. But just note, I mean, if you're showing something like a spreadsheet or something like that, really what you need is just the screencast, right? It's almost, and it makes it a little bit more difficult to actually move around the person if you have a camera as well, because you're trying to get a capture of the screen and you're trying to go to different places to show people how to do something, and if you have the camera in there, it actually can get in the way. So I'll let you decide on that, whether or not you want a camera or not within there, and you can do some research on that, pros and cons on it. You might want to look at research as to whether that will help your overall ratings. You also want to take a look at and consider, what do you want to do in the long term? Do you want like a channel that is really tied to you? Like the easiest way to start out is to have your name as the channel name. As you grow, that can be a really good branding way to go, because it could grow a lot faster that way if you just have your branding name on it. So that's typically a way most people will go. And if you brand that, then you might as well have your face on there as well, and you can brand that as well. So that usually you'll grow faster like that. If you want to have more of a generic name, it can be beneficial in some ways, because at some point in the future, if you wanted to sell the channel or something like that, it's less tied to one individual. So, I mean, if all your content has your name and your face on it, then again, I think it's better for growth a lot of times, especially when you're first starting out. But it might be more difficult if you wanted to convert or change or bring on other people or do something different. So just keep that in mind. But in any case, no matter what you end up doing, you're going to need screen capture type of software. So presentations, what's the basic layout of a presentation and the tools you might use? Well, I'll go over some basic information on the PowerPoint. I might go into it in a little bit more detail later, but I use the PowerPoint just to at least give the intro slide. Even if I'm going somewhere else, I'll give the PowerPoint and say, here's the intro slide. Now, you'll hear a lot of talk about thumbnails if you were going to start this process. Making a thumbnail that you're going to have to put on the intro video, it actually takes up a lot of time, and you'll hear a lot of people emphasizing it's really the most important thing and this and that. And it is important. I'm not saying it isn't, but I'm not saying my thumbnails are the best thumbnails on there. But I'll just give you could use PowerPoint to do that. There's a lot of other tools that you can use, but you want some kind of system where you can organize the thumbnails in a systematic way. And PowerPoint is a way you could do that, because they'll be right on your desktop. So I would suggest formatting with a PowerPoint slide, and then you can make the slides, you can make the intro presentation, and then you can copy the slide. So the basic layout then. So for example, here's a PowerPoint slide. And now let's say I want to put this first slide as my intro slide into the presentation, which is always the case for me, right? Then I would just save this. So I'm going to save it not as a PowerPoint, but as an image, just as one picture. So then I can go to File, Save As, and then I want to browse. I'm going to put it somewhere. And then I'm going to put it into my picture files here. And then you got to change it from a PowerPoint to a JPEG. So I'll change it to a JPEG. And then I'll just save it over this image. And I'll save it, and I'll convert the name. And then I just want this one slide to be copied. So, and that's how I would save the thumbnail. So if you use the PowerPoint slides, then you have the PowerPoint can kind of organize your thoughts. If you number the slides, then that could be helpful for if you're making a course or something like that. It could also help you with the intro because it can give you the bullet points that you're going to need in order to intro. So if you have more than one topic, you can put the bullet points either in the first slide or in the second slide. You really only want 1 to 3 topics if you can get it down to that. And then you can also have the thumbnail that you can create in here and then save that as a picture. So if there's ever a question of where the thumbnail is, well, it's in the first slide of the PowerPoint, and that's going to be an easier way to go with it, typically for me. Okay, so then the question is, well, how do you make a PowerPoint slide? Just some general pointers. I might go into more detail later. You might want to have like an intro type of color pattern or something like that. And I'm not saying mine's the best here, but at one point in time in the past, I had this blue and this green kind of layout. And if you standardize that on the YouTube channel, it could benefit you, because then every time someone sees that, they will start to get a brand recognition. So you'll see if you look at other people's patterns on what they do, they'll typically have some type of standardized pattern. Now, it's nice to have a standardized pattern that basically takes up one part of the slide, just like the green and blue maybe, or something like that, so that then you can put other pictures on it. If your standardized pattern takes the entire slide up, when you're trying to put other things in there, it could be a bother, right? It could be a problem. So it's useful. I mean, you might have this green or something on the side or something like that, but somewhere that you can then put your text somewhere that's prominent for YouTube, or something like, or what if you have text or images that's going to be prominent on the slide. So that's one thing you kind of want to consider. I typically have the blue and green here, and then I use standard type of animation, which isn't great, but I started doing this a while back, and it's kind of a standard thing. So I got these little people that'll be on there, and people will typically seem to start to recognize those over time. Obviously, if you have a face on there, if you're a presenter, you have your own name on there, and you're taking screenshots, you could just pick a screenshot of some video point within the video. So that's how you'd probably think of the thumbnail. Now then, when you're just going to make a slide, if you need to make slides within PowerPoints, I'm just going to show some of the key components. You want an intro slide, and then you might want to just go into whatever you're doing, if you're going to a website and explaining something or something like that, or you might want to add some items into the PowerPoint. So what if you needed to add items into the PowerPoint? Just a couple key components, might go in there a little bit more later. So if you go to and add another slide, it's typically in the Home tab, Slides, New Slide. If you hit the drop down, then you'll have the types of slides that you can use. So by far, this slide is probably the most used. It has a title and then the items below it. And then you can have a comparison one with a title, and you're comparing two items. The one I use most often is actually the blank slide, because the blank slide, I could just make whatever I want to do. So if you just want the standard title and then something happening, for example, this slide, you could put the title, and then you could put something happening here. The reason this slide is good, the reason I like it, is because this box down below is better than a text box, in that if I have bullet points, then the bullet points will appear this way, and if I add animation to the bullet points, then they'll come in one by one, which is what I want to do. So that's one key to that type of slide. Other than that, if I don't want bullet points appearing one by one, then I'll typically just make another slide. Another way you can make a slide is right-clicking down here and say New Slide. However, if you do that, it'll pick up the format of the prior slide. So I want a blank slide, so if I want to click on it and delete it, I'm going to then go back up and go to the Home tab, have a new slide, and then I want a blank slide. Now I like this because it's just a blank slate, and if I want to just grab pictures and whatnot, then I can put it in here, which is often the case. So basic kind of things that you're going to need to do if you want to add some text in here, you can go to Insert, and there's a couple different texts. You can add fancy text here, but typically just a text box. So text box, and then you can add text, and you can make it fancy by just adjusting the text, right? I can go in here and make it, 18, and I can make it a large text, and I can change the color of the text and all that kind of stuff. So you can play with the different tools that you have there. So that's going to be the key function. Also note that in terms of images, oftentimes you're going to be looking for some type of image to display what you want. So you have your shapes here. These are going to be the typical shapes that you can add, square and so on and so forth, typical shape. And so you can use that. Then it also has the icons or something that you want to be aware of, because a lot of things that you'll think about, there'll be standard icons for it. So these little tools will actually give you the quickest kind of visual type of tool that will be recognizable for what you're looking at. So you have the items on the left, accessory, and analytics, animals, so on and so forth. So if I wanted an animal, then it picks up the animal in like its most basic format here. So I could pick that up, an elephant, change then the format of it, the color, and there you go. So a lot of times that's actually really nice because you want to keep your slides kind of clean and simple. And these are basically the most simple kind of shapes for particular things. So then if you go to the Insert tab as well, you also have this item which is 3D images. It's a newer type of image. These are actually produced by people and made by people, but everything that I believe that is in this default file is free, right? So you can go to, okay, let's take a look at the 3D image stuff. And this is another area where you want to look. You can look for pictures, basically, and you can do it by category, or you could type in here like money. I want to find money pictures, and then you got these different money. I really like this guy. Someone should have gotten paid for this one. This one's excellent. So there's a little money guy. All right, so that's another tool that it doesn't have a whole lot of stuff in there, but it's free, and it's kind of cool that it's 3D, so you get a little bit of extra, jump or pop from it that you can move it around. Now, some of them are a lot better than others. Depends on who made the picture, of course. But that's another tool to be aware of. The other tools that you can use are pictures from online resources. Just note that if you go online, like if I go into Insert here, you can pull it actually from PowerPoint. For example, if I wanted to go to the pictures and images and then pictures, then I can pull a picture from basically a search. And I believe that most of the pictures here are going to be, you can use them, have the rights to be used because I'm drawing right from PowerPoint. So I think they're trying to find the pictures that are free. But you have to be a little bit more careful here because now you're getting the copyright law. So you can see down here it says photo is by unknown author, licensed CC by, right? It's an unknown author and so on and so forth. So you want to make sure when you get to there that you're using the right, copyright laws and whatnot, and it gets a little more sketchy. But I think, it's trying to go to the free photos when you go there, and you should check the copyright laws after that. All right, so then if you want some more types of pictures or more images, there's a whole lot of picture banks out there. Now, just note that many of them are paid for, and again, you got to be careful on which pictures you use to make sure that you have the rights to use it. I'm always looking for the free pictures. So one of the ones that you can have a free pictures with are, what are the items with the free pictures? So one I recommend is Pixels. And if you look at the terms here in terms of the license terms, let's take a look at the license term. This is like the most straightforward license terms you're going to find here. What is allowed? We tried to keep the Pixels license as simple as possible. Thank you. We keep reading to find out more. So all photos and videos on Pixels are free to use. Attribution is not required. Giving credit to the photographer or Pixels is not necessary, but always appreciated. You can modify the photos and videos from Pixels, be creative, and edit them as you like. That's about as, wide open as you can have. So that's why I like Pixels. So Pixels is great. I would use that. I have, very little fear. I still have a little fear that I'm violating some kind of copyright law or something, but that's pretty wide open. And then you have, if you're using Screencast-O-Matic, which is the software I use for screencasting, they've actually added photo library and a video library, which again, it seems they're saying it's totally free. It's open too. So that's another reason that I really like Screencast. That you have to pay for it for that $4 a month, subscription. So I like that. I use that as well. So those are just some other tools. You can look for a whole lot of different tools on photos and whatnot. But just simple images is what I usually want and what I'm looking for within this. Now, the other big tool that's really useful is the screen cut. So a lot of times, for example, if you had something here and say I want to copy like the logo here, so you could cut and paste the entire screen and bring it over here, or you can just use this software to cut and paste. So you have a cut and paste right in it. So what you do is you go to Insert over here, and you go to the screenshot, and then I'm going to clip the screen. Now what's going to happen when I do this is the PowerPoint here is going to go away, the front screen is going to go away, and it's going to go to whatever screen was open behind it, which is the website that I want to copy. And then instead of copying the entire screen, I'm just going to draw a box around what I want to copy. So I'm going to say screen clipping, and then it's going to like fade out here, and I'm going to say draw a box around that. And there it is. And that's going to be some of our favorite tools. So you can see like what I've made here on this slide for the intro. I just made a couple shapes here, and then I put the words, text box, and then I copied and pasted or used a screen cut to find PowerPoint and pixels and Screencast-O-Matic. Same thing for this slide. So that's basically what you need, because you're trying to give informational purposes here. Your slides really don't need to be really extreme. If you're trying to just convey information, you really want kind of simple type of things that people can understand. So that's usually what I am looking for. So those are the major tools with it. Bottom line, you probably want to use PowerPoint. I would use PowerPoint for an intro slide. I would use PowerPoint to organize my content by number or something like that. And then I can always go back to it, and it'll give me something like an outline. It'll follow basically an outline for me. So that's that. We might go into more detail on PowerPoint and some other picture tools and whatnot and screencasting later, but that's what you need to know to get to start off with it.